Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again. Hope you are doing well today. We were rambling about the Elektron Analog Rytm Mark II. It sounds like this. The rhythm in any of its incarnations is not a new thing. I am going to try and give a unique perspective on it, I guess. I don't know how unique it'll actually be, but, at least a unique presenter, I suppose, I hope. I always said I really like the idea of being like an encyclopedic place, whether you mesh with, appreciate, or like who I am, the music I make, etc. You can always go compare one drum sheet or compare one piece of gear to another piece of gear, vis-a-vis me being a crazy person and having hundreds of videos. So hopefully the Elektron Rhythm can be one of them. I have other Elektron videos up. I'm not trying to plug them. It's just to say that, if you want to make direct comparisons, I'm hoping to be, in some ways, encyclopedic, even though usually we're going to focus on Eurorack. But today, Analog Rhythm, something of a legend, I want to say, just because, what could be more synonymous with drum machines than the rhythm itself? Now, I will say this thing has been covered to death over the years. It is not a new thing. I have before you the Mark II in the original gray. There is a Mark II in the new black. And one of the things I want to focus on this video with the understanding that this thing has been covered to death is that I want to talk about these pads, because these pads are not great. And I'll tell you right off the rip that it is a different experience across every unit. Some of them are majorly screwed, some of them are completely fine. I have owned both, and this is neither. However, I understand the Mark I, which I've never tried, was even worse, which I kind of have a hard time believing given how these are really not responsive at all. So what you want to do if you're going to try and figure drum is either hit the fixed velocity button so everything can trigger, which is kind of a shame because you can't express any accents through finger drumming. Finger drumming is sweet. Even on the Mark II that I had, I would describe the pads as perfect as these get. I still wouldn't leave fixed velocity for that reason, because these things kind of suck, just to be honest. They're and it's weird because I almost think it's a software issue, because when you go into the mute groups, they seem extremely responsive. The lightest tap will engage. I'm not even, I don't know, tapping at all. I'm just the mere poke of them will draw them in and out. But for some reason, when you actually want to perform them, when it really matters, I don't know if it is because they have such crosstalk that they had to design them this way, but fixed velocity. And on that note, I do actually quite like finger drumming, but I also really like the clicky buttons on Elektron boxes. I was talking with a buddy of mine recently on this too, that was kind of like, those pads, you're better off with the Synth because you can use those nice buttons that are nice for finger drumming, and I agree with the sentiment. However, you can just use these step buttons as triggers, right? So if you want to finger drum, this is how I would finger drum beats in, right? That's sweet. They feel great. They are great. So on that note, there's going to be a lot to cover, and I am never going to cover every single thing. I'm going to miss your favorite feature. I'm going to say some things off the rip about things that I ignore on this machine, or I have ignored in my many different times owning it. But one of those being the quick perform mode. I know that's probably sacrilege, but it's kind of confusing to set up in my opinion, but maybe we can dispel that. Anyway, I do want to try. I always try and be like an encyclopedic source for gear every whatever I do on the channel. So on that note, I think we're going to try and run through all of the machines briefly. Now, I remember in the Digitone video, I got lots of angry comments saying I didn't cover this preset, or I didn't go into different aspects of the different machines. There are many machines. There are many different voices. I'm not going to cover every single thing, but we are going to run through it real quick and try and discover it. So, kick machines. We have bass drum hard, classic. I will say analog drum machines real quick on this one. This thing, if I could say, it's like 909 inspired. I hate that like every discussion around drum machines is either is it 808 or is it 909. This is definitely 909E, which I would usually say when it comes to like analog sounds. 909 just like means more aggressive. I wouldn't say it's that close, but don't look too closely at bare analog sounds, if that makes any sense. Like on its own, it can be very thin, right? I know analog is associated with warmth and whatever. Sometimes it's snake oil, sometimes it's not. But when it comes to like analog drum machines, it's not, you know. So the thing that actually brings what are not not insanely exciting on their own, but are in the context of the analog, the digital effects, the analog compressor on this thing is like, in my opinion, what makes the rhythm so special, but also the filters, the I don't know, the workflow, of course. But yeah, just when it comes to like this isn't super exciting right now. What is exciting, the FM sounds nice. Look, if you're a blush response fan like me, you remember that the plastic was the good one. Silky's nice. Sharp is nice. These just like the acoustic. I wish I was on the machine drum I had briefly, and I think it was the acoustic machine on that one. Just sounded so good. And I am tempted to almost say, is that because it was digital? Anyway, acoustic, sharp, silky, plastic, FM, classic, hard. And then other ones. So in a recent firmware update, there used to just be dual VCO. Then there's this chip tune. I think it's interesting right off the back that is that an LFO on the VCA on the init patch? This goes right. The raw. And I always heard that there's like some sort of, I don't know if it's like biasing thing, and I heard this in every demo I've seen of it too, but in the dual VCO mode, there's like almost, I don't know if it's phase cancellation or what, but do you hear there's like, it almost like cuts itself out in a way that I can't describe at all. Like, there's just, the raw doesn't do that, and it sounds fatter. Does that make any sense? So, snare drum, hard, classic, FM, natural. And it is my preference usually to make snare drums out of the impulse or noise. So for the sake of building a kit for this video, let's go to kick. I have this set to that noise. Let's go to my favorite kick. This is the plastic. So we have tune. So where does your pitch start? You have the sweep time. How long does the pitch bend take to complete? You have the modulation level. I don't know where this is. And then you have sweep depth, so how far does the pitch bend go? So what I like to do usually is crank that and then make the sweep time super short. I will say it doesn't seem to actually pump that whole envelope. The tick is like a digital transient control, I believe. Let's go tune down a little bit. And then the type is the type of modulation. Okay, so that... I don't know what A and B are, but it gives that plasticness to it, right? No, we probably need less plasticness. The tick will really, if you like them to ring out really long like I do, the tick will really help emphasize the start of them. So now let's bring the tempo up. You know it's an older Elektron machine when you see this BPM screen, but for that, let's go up to 150 because I want to do something a little exciting. 156. Here's kicks. I'm also going to show you something because I want to, some people, this usually isn't me, but it will be today, the setup of the pages, like you can go in here and make this up to 64 steps. It's not the double length like the new Elektron boxes are, but if you're thinking in more of a if you want to stay in one bar, how's that? Then what you can do is do trigger params. So if I go in here, I'll hold the 15th step, hold it down, and you want our condition to be on the 4th bar. So I'm going to use conditions instead of longer sequence length. So doesn't go, doesn't go, doesn't go, now it'll go. Yeah. So just to express sort of how things work on the sequencer, I'm going to stick to one bar today. So here's our kick. I believe there's a metronome in here somewhere, but my workflow with all of the Elektron boxes usually is to get a kick going because I'm into techno, and then bring everything else in. So let's hear our snare. That is a weird sounding snare. I believe that's because I switch it to noise. Now let's go into the snare machines. Where are my snare machines? There we go. I'm going to preview them here. Because I missed my machine drum, let's go to the classic. Let's throw in 1 on the 4. That sounds pretty high to me. Let's go. So this one, like some of the Eurorack modules I've tried, it has separate controls for the noise, its level, and its decay. So you get sweep like you would the kick, which is nice. So the noise can have a different decay than the body, which really reminds me of my SSF entity in a very nice way. So for that reason, I like to tune them a little lower, so the body has a little je ne sais quoi, I don't know, and then that noise can go on top of it. Now, I'm going to talk real briefly about the sampling on here because it does have a limited sampling engine to it. I prefer to do synth design, subtractive synthesis with stuff than I do like surfing menus. You also can't slice on here, which kind of is a pain. You can do things with tricks of modulating the start point, the end point, and then re-triggering it, right? So you don't get slices, but you can slice it up. That makes sense. But this is sort of where I get into that, like, things that annoy me about Elektron category, because, like, they did all of that on the Octatrack 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago? So they've had that on the other boxes forever, but it just can't be here because we can't have one all-encompassing box that covers everything. Like, just can't have it, right? I've read lots of speculation about whether or not they do all of that intentionally or not, but whether or not it is intentional, whether or not they genuinely can't do it or just don't want to, I don't know. However, it is what it is here, and that's sort of why I got into Eurorack in the first place, is because all of these desktop boxes, all of them just have that one thing that I need, or I really love the analog rhythm, but its synthesis engines mean you need another box, so it's like, I don't know. These are just the things that go into it. With that being said, there's always workarounds. It's always fun to see what people post online, like making the most of the limitations, right? I know that, like, there's a metaphor that, like, all art is limitations or whatever. It's awesome. The performance tools are great. If your workflow is samples, don't overlook the focus on analog here, because, like, I don't know, I haven't spent much time with the Digitakt, but I just feel like the performance features and stuff on here are excellent for a sample-based drum machine. Like, I've never tried a TR-8S, but, like, those samples in this workflow, probably pretty excellent. But still, for me, my favorite part of this is sort of the whole reason I'm in, not that I have any experience in the DAW, but, like, the whole reason I fell in love with desktop analog subtractive synthesis stuff of all varieties, not just drum machines, was just to sit down, hear it go, tweak a knob, and create some sound out of it, because it's fun, not because it turns out, because, like, Romplers will always sound better than whatever I could do, right? But this is what we're here for. I'm not here to dive through samples. Now, with that being said, I'm going to show how you do dive through samples, and lots of people have really love to layer samples, like having 2 kicks, and I don't care for that. Because if the envelope isn't exactly the same, if there's envelope baked into your one shot that you're triggering, then the kick sounds wonky to me. Like, you can apply envelope to your sample to make it match up. You can use a different sample that's, like, just the head of your drum bat or whatever, but, like, a lot of the times when I was trying to get into this thing and do like, people just say a snare, an analog snare sounds better with a one shot of a digital snare on top of it, and I just haven't been able to get that to work myself, because that's everything I want out of a drum machine. And to be honest, in my Euro rack, I have samples of the analog rhythm loaded up, right? Like, this is what I'm here for. So with that being said, let's go in and actually move forward. So we're going to hit sample view here. And then you go in here, and the simp icon on here, I know it's a sample, go into a blank spot, hit yes to confirm, and now we can load up some stuff. I believe these are the previous owners. If not, you let me know, but we have claps, Lindrum clap. I believe that is the Lindrum clap. So if we back out of here now, go to the sample view, we can see that. I'll turn off the analog engine so you can just hear the sample. But if we bring in that analog engine to hear how they compare, I don't know. I just don't know if that adds anything. Granted, this probably doesn't sound so different from the Lindrum. But let's hit play. And what I'm going to do while we're demonstrating other things, I'm going to add 3 triggers in. And we're going to go back to the trig page. And I don't know why I'm in Euclidean mode. That's the other screen. Okay, we're going to put this on the fourth bar. So it's like a fill at the end, right? Yeah. Now, that being said, like I said, if your workflow is samples, then filter, analog filters, I believe. I know the compressor's analog. It sounds radical. That's probably not the word to use, but that's okay. We got that going. We got all of that on deck. I demonstrated the ride. Now, I don't think there is another engine in here. Sorry, y'all. Okay, let's take the sample off. Now there's the waveform view. I don't know. Again, I'm just going to share my my experiences. Let's go through the other machines. We have the ride. So again, the pads are not the same. Not the same engines across pads. Some of them are unique to them. So we have a clap that was not in those bass and snare. And I love claps. I know some people hate claps. I love claps. Claps are my jam. Ride cymbal. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a ride to me, but what do I know? That sounds like a cowbell. You got to make those decays really short. Noise is up. Tick is up. Now we're getting to hi-hat territory. Again, there's also the modular mind in me too. That sounded less pretentious in my head. The modular mind in me too just sort of sees these all as like there's so much overlap in the tone between that ride and the cowbell and the cymbals and everything. I just sort of feel like even if it meant some compromises, you could just like give all the machines the same machine, or sorry, give all the pads the same machines, right? Or maybe there's like kick and tom in one row, and then anyway. I look at these things in a weird light, I guess. So there's the clap. We went through all of these. All of these are previous. We went through all of the cymbals. Let's get over to the bass tom. Now these toms are just either bass tom or noise, but they sound good. And I also feel like every video I've seen on the Analog Rytm tends to, hey, if you're going to layer anything, I'd layer the kicks with the bass tom, but hey, what do I know? I love like syncopated tom, bubbly, like IDM, I don't know, like that sort of stuff. And I think just like the way that, you know, so many voices are dedicated to toms on the Analog Rytm, it just sort of inspires like all of the demos to be full of toms, which is great because like this stuff is rad to me. I didn't even change a thing on there. Not that you get a ton. Now let's do some live recording because we can. So we'll make it quantized. Go mid tom and high tom. Now these will choke each other, which I'm going to try and do in a performative way. Yeah. Fun stuff. I don't know why I said that. Source. Yeah. I don't even need to dress these up too much, right? They just sound good. All right, so closed hat on the top. We have a lot of different hat machines, so we have closed hats. I will say one thing that I miss on this that is on the Syntact, I believe, maybe on the Digitone as well, but the fill button, because it's not, sometimes I want to just hear this repeatedly or re-triggered without going like, or, right? So, classic, metallic, open hat metallic, lab. So this is a new one, I believe, from the last update that they give you this 3 oscillator crazy thing. And you can just mangle it to mayhem. Let's go back to basic. Anyway, this is all nice. Let's go in and I'll show you 2 different ways. So I'm going to go in here and fill the entire bar with this, right? So listen. Now it's way too busy, but what I want to do is randomize it by bringing in probability. And let's bring it down like real low, so it's super uncommon, right? And in this context, these limited voices choking each other is actually nice because I can be a little more sparse with the open hats. Yes, this is way too crazy to bring that probability down. So now my hats are just like totally random. Stop recording, hit my source page, get something a little more subdued. I know these are both closed and not open. That's fine in my mind. Like, they sound different, right? There's an accent going on. I think that's good. I will say, now, I know people love this. Yeah. Yeah. It's very XOX style. On the cymbals front, though, we have our classic, our metallic, and our ride. Sorry, I didn't do the ride. And our ride. Nope, ride. Yeah. So let's just do a whole bunch of these. Maybe I'll sidechain it by leaving out the triggers on the 4 on the floor. And just because people love cowbells and I'm not such a fan, let's go in there. Put 1 on the beginning. Yes, this is way too busy, but we'll get to fixing that in a moment. So we have classic. Sorry, classic. Metallic. I know, I can hear you screaming, why don't you go through the pages, go through all the parameters are already at 25 minutes. That's why. I gotta have more cowbell. My dad was a huge fan of that SNL skit and meme. Okay, here we go. I am unmuting a bunch of crap. You will see, if you go really fast and loose with it, these can kind of untrack not perfectly. See, those 2 came on. But it's fairly good, right? Now, I think this is as good a time as any before we get into doing my favorite part, which I'm going to save for last. The performance tools are kind of what make the rhythm special. Like, those are great. The sequencer is really special in itself, but the sounds, like, you know, analog can be kind of thin without beefing it up. We will beef it up in the end, but what makes the rhythm kind of a favorite of people's, it did that miss thing again. I think what makes rhythm a favorite of people's is the performance tools. So, for me, when I was making videos on the rhythm way back before I was in a Hero Rack, I just loved to start stuff up like this and kick. See, this pad is doing the thing again. Bring in our toms at that bottom one. Yeah, that came on too. So if I tap 3 at the same time, pads permitting, this should. Yeah. Now, I would be remiss, as much as I think they're not my favorite, I would be remiss to not, let's mute all of these. See, the pads are doing the weird thing now. So let's go into our ride cymbal, and we'll change the source over to a synth engine. And this is the dual VCO. Now, if we hit on the chorus page, I will say it is weird that you can't lock this into a scale, right? My first expectation, I guess, would be, oh, no, you can. You can. Okay. Ignore that. Yes, this is what I expected. This is expected behavior. Let's go in and force this to Ionian. Let's go to D. Now. So yes, let's record in a synth line. If I go over to my mute, I need to hear my kick. Go back to my chromatic. But again, my frickin' clear track with function and clear, my frickin' pads are not the best, so I don't know if I want to perform that on here. Was that quantized? Nope. At least not the way I wanted it. Record, clear track. Live, record, quantized. Yeah, that's how I wanted it. Okay, so now this is super high in pitch. If we go into source and we get our synth engine, I'm just going to tune it down. If we can get it to 12, I believe that makes an octave. Forgive me. Filter sounds really good. This track is really loud though, so let's turn it down. And our amp section, this is the same as like every Elektron box. It works great. It's unremarkable in a good way. This is still pitched pretty high, but we have a bunch of different modes in this mode. This mode being the dual VCO. So you have sine and a ramp. You have a bunch of different combinations. You have ring mod. And then you have this like 2-op FM with ring mod. And I don't, like, they're fine. I really wish I had a digital super saw, but I guess you could just use a synth for it. This is actually really cool though. PWM. Yeah. Raw. This is the one that I stick to, honestly. Just saw, super saw, a little bit of noise. Yeah, this is where I'm at. Right? Oh. Okay, sample was off. Don't fret not. And the classic tafony thing of just envelope opening that filter a bit. And then the effects, reverb. Now this amp is a little bit too much decay. Let's take the hold all the way off. And we'll bring in some other voices. pads. They're like getting worse as the video goes on. Yeah, where did my clap go? Get back on there. You too. So on that note, this is way busier than you probably would feasibly want, but now that that's going, maybe let's just save, right? It's going to replace my other one, just in case. New project. If you're like me, you probably have 500. New project 1, 2 through 200. So that's how my digitone looks. Let's unmute that hat. Now, what I think really makes the rhythm special is going into the effects tab. We'll come in here. You can everything has to be sent to the reverb. I don't believe there's any way to send the entire mix to it. If you do know a way beyond doing like a parameter lock for all the individual tracks, you let me know. But what makes the rhythm special is this. Take my synth line out, not you, clap. Overdrive. Nope, sorry, this is per track. I am out. We need to go back in here. Effects, overdrive, the whole thing. Distortion. And do the delay too. Now, for the sake of the video, I haven't been doing much of this to save time, but if you go into the LFO, there's only one LFO per page, which kind of sucks, especially in the drum machine side of things. I think you get like new Elektron boxes, you get like 3, but the LFO setup on Elektron boxes is wonderful. I wish you could get more than one destination. I think that would be just make the one LFO, which is probably as much as I want, just turn it into a huge thing. Whereas new ones, you get 3 LFOs, or you can just send it to multiple destinations. But here we go. Distortion, get back over there. Let's bring it in. The other thing I wish on Elektron boxes is just like in the future, I'd love to see this. I wish you could watch the LFOs, the modulation, changing the parameters, right? I think like that would be really useful to see both what's going on and teach new people, because I'm probably gonna have to adjust some volume as we crank this up. If I remember anything from my analog rhythm days, is that I always had to have this volume all the way down because I was just absolutely slamming it with this distortion because it sounds so good. Now I know many of you have taste and won't appreciate this, but I don't, and I do. Now, the distortion sounds fine. It's not like super remarkable. I think it's just like a little bit of overdrive to my ears. What does sound exceptionally good, though, is this analog compressor, which makes everything quieter until you crank the makeup gain and bring that threshold down. I want just like the snappiest little envelope, and we want to just decimate this, because I loved how this sounded. And then this you can do, sorry, let's go side chain. You can do it from hit. And I think if I don't even know if that's what's doing it. If I sequence it on this effects track, let's try a little bit less distortion, just so you can really let that compressor sing. I love it. I know, you think that's terrible. I love it though. The weird thing, the threshold works the opposite, right? The lower the threshold should allow for more makeup gain, right? But maybe I just have it so cranked that it doesn't matter. Ratio, if we max that. Yes. Compression isn't an effect, but today it is. Yes. Now if we do scenes, I'm going to do in the first one, I'm going to try and set this up on the fly. I found this all really unintuitive, so I've always kind of skipped it, but maybe we can figure it out today. So we're going to hold down scene 1. I don't know if you have to have the record on or not, but let's hold it. Bring that makeup gain down. We go scene 2. Crank it up. Do I switch over to scene 1 when I bring it down? 1, 2, 4. Nope. I don't get this view. I know it's like the killer feature on here, and I know I can map a quick perform thing to that, but I just always found it unintuitive. And I know there's a way you can use this as like your octatrack fader to use velocity here, but I just like found this all to be super confusing and convoluted. My expected thing, if I'm in record mode, maybe, I don't know if you need to do that, if I hit scene, no, we don't want to reload the pattern, we hold scene, I'm on scene 10, okay, I want to go to scene 1. Maybe I didn't hold it long enough, so that one on scene 1 will bring the makeup gain down. So if I hold scene now, and go to scene 2, change some parameters. So if I leave scene now, I'm in scene 2, but if I go to scene 1, no, it didn't. See why? Does it, maybe you can't do this to the compression? Okay, let's try on that note. We'll go the other way. If you hold track and hit kick, I'll go over to source. So we'll come in here at scene, hold scene, scene 1. I also never use song mode. I just feel like the beautiful immediacy of all the octatrack stuff, of all the Elektron stuff, is so lost on like all of this crap, you know what I mean? I just feel like what I want to be doing is performing it and not guessing about what's what. So if we hold, there we go. Okay, so maybe you just can't do it to the effects track. Which is kind of what I want to do. Okay, so now I remember, if I remember correctly, you hold quick perform, you select the destination pad, and so if I'm in scene 2, I can quick perform. Maybe not. I don't know, again, I just find this like so challenging. Like, why is this such a guessing game? Anyway, oh, you can, or these mutes? Or is it because I'm already in scene mode? If I hold quick perform, nope. Quick perform, not for me. Alright, I'm Tafony. I hope this wasn't the worst video. Again, it's like 40 minutes in this runtime now, and we're already haven't even scraped the surface, but anyway, if I can just like give my final thoughts on Elektron boxes, everything they have is excellent, and I want all of it in one place. And for me, that's the Digitone. And yes, you give up that beautiful compressor. I wish you didn't. I wish they had one master bus on there. I also wish you could do, anyway, this like Elektron stuff, for me, it's always littered with those like, oh, they just left out this thing and this thing and this thing, so you got to get all the boxes and you got to like collect them all, you got to catch them all. So naturally I did have to move on to Eurorack because you got to catch them all. So it sounds great. It is a drum machine that I love to use samples of on other things, but also samples itself. The workflow for me, the pads, the performance, the quick perform, all of that stuff is kind of confusing, but you can't beat it when you have stuff like this going. That's just this is one of my favorite experiences. So let's bring in other stuff and just decimate it. Hey, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that crap that YouTube is always on my case about not promoting to you, and I'll see you in the next video.